When it comes to forming and managing alliances, most companies have blinders on. They focus too much on the deal itself. Instead, they should focus on the strategy beyond the specifics of the deal. Let's consider a framework to guide you through the key elements of an effective alliance strategy.
So let me put a little bit more of a frame around all of the various things that we've been talking about. And I call it the arc of alliance strategy, and what it is a roadmap. It's a roadmap for essentially the areas that you need to pay attention to will be the alliance design itself. And we'll have more to say about that. But what's the goal? How do you choose a partner? What's the structure? What are the sort of governance structures? What do the lawyers put on paper is sort of the part of that which needs to be done well. Also, you need to have good management of the follow-up after the signature. And that's obvious, again, to many of you. But the evolution of the relationship over time, which we call the alliance management, some of you may have that in your job functions, but there's a whole new, I wouldn't say science, but there's an art around managing these things, and there's some science behind it also, but alliance management. So this has to do with the deal itself. There are a couple of things that have to do with not the deal, but the organizational infrastructure in the company in order to make every deal work. And two of them, one on the strategic side, would be the alliance portfolio, the constellation, which again, companies that are at the forefront of this think explicitly about what is the constellation of alliances they have. So Cisco would be an example. They think very systematically about the value chain around them, the ecosystem, if you want to call it that, and where they're going to form what kinds of alliances and what the relationships are between those alliances, where are there positive interdependencies and negative interdependency, et cetera. That is a constellation design question, which again, pharmaceutical companies also, for example, do. Airline companies do. All of these large constellations like Star Alliance and One World, and they are essentially network organizations where you cannot ignore the constellation design part as well as management. The other part of it is the knowledge management inside a company. And you might think about that as building your capability, building your skill set, your tools, learning from successes and failures, et cetera. And that, too, is something that those companies that are advanced in this are good at, and you can take a look at them. The pharmaceutical companies, for example, have invested a lot into that area. So there are offices of alliance management at Eli Lilly, for example, and all the others also have some comparison to that. And there's a whole series of tools and approaches that they have, which they use basically to help relationship management. I mentioned a few examples on the way, but you have to be careful because all of this arc, is embedded in your own strategy and organization. And this is very, very important because what you see another company do, a Cisco or a Lilly or an IBM or a Xerox or Sun, et cetera, may be totally irrelevant for your particular organizational style and your structure and your strategy and industry. And so this is what I meant about looking at the science behind the art that's out there. Take the art, reduce it to its fundamentals, and then ask yourself, how does that fit into our strategy, or how do we need to change it so that it fits into our strategy?